And so now my next question has to do with Urko, because Sandra, you just said that you wanted to present the creature's paw or what you already did and what does this mean. And we talked about it a little bit before, but now you have time. Now you have time to do the intellectual exercises of your god. You have time to compare notes and ideas. You are probably creating a little bit of a library from whatever you can, and uh, the conclusions that you are reaching are a little bit alarming. From what you can put together, from the conversations, the people of this northern area across these mountains um, have a very different relationship to the mythology that you know. For one thing, the queen is a very supreme goddess to them. There is no husband, or there is only a ritual rotating position for the husband. Not only is she the kind of grand goddess, but there's also a very strong difference in how they look at chaos over there. You've picked that up already. To them, denying chaos is absurd. It's going to happen, and that most of the runes that you know they actually consider to be subordinate temporary expressions of the chaos rune. So think of them as being a little bit monotheistic in comparison to you. In runic terms, there is a great rune as far as they are concerned, instead of a bunch of binary runes like you have. And the idea of worshiping an element to them is is kind of terrible. Why would you worship a rock? Why would you worship a tree? What on earth are you talking about? And so the other issue for them is that, therefore, when they say the storm, they aren't really talking about the elements. They aren't really talking about the weather. That would
Okay.
be a symbolic term for them. Um, so let's see. So if you look at I will bore you with a little bit of RuneQuest. What they call the power runes all come in pairs. There's luck and fate. There's uh, uh, motion and stasis. There's several pairs: harmony and discord, fertility and death, things like that. Truth and illusion, right? All of these are their pairs in the runes you know. To these people, each of those pairs has a dominant rune, and the other one is only a temporary form that will occasionally manifest but will fall apart. So to them, truth is just the way that deception kind of goes once in a while. Stasis is just something that motion results in some stasis once in a while. Harmony, same thing. Discord is typical. Harmony sometimes happens and it won't last. So they have a completely different philosophical understanding of their runes, which is not based on balance. So this is the kind of thing that you may find if you have a few conversations with him, and when you and Jala compare the notes from the books that you have from the tower and the uh, and the things that you have heard Zhong say, and many other things, and the fact that you have that skull, um, and it serves as a point of focus. In many ways, you have captured an important religious item from another god, in fact, another whole philosophy of your gods, and you have it captive and secret.
Thank you, Sort.
Yeah. So the question is, I assume, okay, you have a choice. You can either go to Zhong and say, "Oh, look, we found a skull. It looks like it belongs to you and your people. Here you have your skull back." Or you put it into a smaller room further back in the giant and don't talk about it.
Talk about it. Further back.
I was just giving you a choice just in case. But
hold on. I need to trust him a bit more first.
Right. Or as we like to say in science, further study is required.
Yes, please.
Indeed.
Quick question. Is it impossible for us to start our own cult?
Ooh. Well, it's not
like the cult of Sort.
What can often happen is what they call a hero cult. And a hero cult is usually due to a subcult of an existing one. But as anyone can see from our own history and legends, and from, if you go and you look at the fantasy settings that are associated with RuneQuest, a great deal of the history of the religions involves a hero cult, which turns out eventually to be, the big one.
Not very long-lived.
Yeah.
The big one?
Well, or turning into a much bigger
right.
the primary one. In fact, the novel or the documents that are associated with Glorantha include a book called King of Sartar, How a Man Became a God. So technically, yes. We do not have mechanics for that in RuneQuest.
I think we take it slow.
Yeah.
I'm already completely baffled concerning what Jan is talking about and trying to figure out what the heck that guy is and wants.
Well, let's take it to what Nate said about Zort and him. And you know a little bit about the geography of the area. Where would you like to be for a conversation with him? And I assume that this would be one of several conversations through the course of some weeks. So just give me an image of where you are talking to Jean.
Remember that place where we first met him in where we had a big dinner, the big feast,
Yeah.
the celebration? Yeah. That house might be fitting.
Excellent. Now, in the course of time, he has relaxed a little bit and is a little bit less formal. But he still wears more elaborate clothes than anybody in the entire region. And so, in many ways, he looks a little bit more costumed than anyone else. But he has relaxed a little bit and is, he doesn't stand around with his hands folded and things like that. He actually sits and talks and seems a little bit more casual. His use of the language is still simple, but he is a quick learner and is paying a lot of attention. So it will be reasonably easy to speak. If a complicated topic comes up, then they have a role in RuneQuest for how you misunderstand each other, which is potentially kind of a big problem. So let's take a look then at the two of you talking, and remember how I said they drink a lot of tea here, it turns out, and this sounds so Orientalist of me, but it just worked out this way in what we have played. Of course, he has a personal tea making set. He has all the little things you need to make a nice cup of tea. So, and again, I hope we can avoid being too stereotyped about that, but it seems to make sense for this guy and what we've talked about. All right, now when we have, that's another thing. I was thinking about this. He has physical features that aren't that different from, I mean, that I guess we haven't really talked about this much and just let our imaginations do it. But I don't want you to imagine him as Asian. I want you to imagine him as almost spooky Nordic. So to an American's eyes, some people from Iceland look almost like elves out of fantasy novels, for example. They are so blonde and so, distinctive looking. And that is kind of the way I think that your characters are reacting to this guy.
All right.
Yeah.
So very different.
To your eyes, yes. To an anthropologist, it's clear that this is one continuous continent. What are you getting so excited about? Right. But to as you know, from the perspective of a given culture, even a small consistent difference can be very striking to you. But it's very clear, yes, he comes from somewhere else.
Because I've always imagined, we've never talked about appearance, and I've always imagined Skava dark-haired and with a pretty dark skin tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that sounds fine. I kind of like the idea of that northern island area in the continent map as being set off a little bit. And I also thought it would be kind of fun for us sitting in Scandinavia to play where the, quote, foreign peoples are actually more Nordic looking than the people we are playing. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
No, I just go and see that somebody fixes my armor and that I find a new bow and...
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, of course. No,
there's some practical things I would like to do before we jump in time.
Oh, I see.
And land somewhere where I don't know
I just
what will happen.
I just assumed that during these days and weeks and everything that passed, that my broken axe been fixed.
All of those things can happen. Whenever we have these nice breaks in time, it's perfectly reasonable to think that you are getting your equipment replaced, and all of you have enough status that really you can upgrade or change what you have. There's no reason why you can't. For example, if somebody wants to get a metal body armor or metal bronze armor for your for this area, for what they call the vambrace, if you want to do any of those things, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be stuck with the armor that we started with.
Well, there's this tiny little problem about weight and stuff like that. So,
that's true.
But yes, I would have asked Kindu to give it a new try and probably have ended up with something even more elaborate, decorated.
There are several other things too. We will get back to the conversation with Zort in a moment, but I want you to look at your skills and tell me about any skills that seem obvious to you that you would practice on a daily basis here in the village, or that you would have influenced. And I was thinking for a Kindu that the materials skill, the materials would definitely be possible.
Okay.
And then for Zort, it's probably a return.
Cult lore.
Yeah, I was going to say cult lore is probably getting a good boost for you.
Yeah.